Hey everyone, and welcome to Supernatural Signals, My Haunted Journal series. If you're not familiar with this series, it's basically an opportunity for me to kind of reflect on what's been happening with me, specifically paranormal, recently, as well as any updates to the channel. It just gives me time to have an unscripted way to get out what I'm feeling or been experiencing, especially regarding the paranormal and my thoughts in that aspect. Like I said, they're a lot less scripted than my deep dives. So it's just kind of a way for me to express my thoughts and keep everyone updated on the channel as I continue on creating YouTube videos. If you are interested in these type of videos, I will put a link to the playlist of my Haunted Journal series down below. And with that said, let's get started. First, I want to kind of change things up and start with some channel updates. As you can tell, I've been kind of if you've been watching my channel, um, I've been kind of messing with the banners and the style. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly the style and thumbnails of what I want for my channel. So that will be changing back and forth. I'm still kind of new to editing, fairly new, and just kind of experimenting and seeing what works for my channel. Um, Life updates. I like to keep, most of my personal life, um, personal in that sense, but, things are going good. I had a good birthday weekend last week, which I mentioned in my previous journal. So, yeah, other than that, let's get more into the main topic of this video, and that is going to be about the concept of tricksters. Sorry, I'm not a great speaker, but tricksters in the paranormal aspect. Now, before I begin, I do want to preface this as saying that tricksters can be very dangerous. I feel like in the paranormal world, there's tricksters that want to communicate and like to play around, get our attention. And then there's the other tricksters that might mimic those that seem more like friendly and fun and kind of annoying and like get out of here type annoying spirits versus but they're actually putting you in a position that's not good, and they're actually not on your side and wanting your help for something that maybe be darker. But for this specific video, I want to stay on more of the lighter tone just because I feel like a lot of my topics are heavy, and I don't know, I just want to talk about something brighter today because I've talked about the dangers of the paranormal a lot on my channel, and there is a lot of if you don't know what you're doing, there's a lot of precaution you have to take, right? But for this video, I want to kind of focus on the lighter side and how maybe spirits that are tricksters try to get your attention, but more in a playful, annoying manner. And so I kind of want to give a little bit of my experience with that and just talk about the different types and go from there. Okay, so to preface this, and I've said this if a million times on my channel, but just to preface this, the reason I started this channel is that a while back I had a massive influx of paranormal activity hit me. I've always been slightly interested in the paranormal, a skeptic, and then all of a sudden I got hit with a bunch of paranormal activity all at once. And since then, it has tapered down. And I know I said, and with this video, nothing really happened this week because normally with these series, I talk about if anything significant happened to me in the paranormal world or, anything I want to talk about that's currently happening in my week. And nothing did happen this week except for the usual things. And when I say usual things, I mean my new norm. So ever since my influx of paranormal activity, I will have like I'll see shadows, I'll hear once in a while a mimic, I'll experience paranormal things, and once in a while I will experience things that are new or something that's like, you know what I mean? Like really like is like grabs my attention in a different way, right? But usually nowadays it's like I will experience things that when I have my influx, but on a lesser level. So, like I said, once in a while I'll see shadows. Once in a while I'll have like a semi sleep paralysis situation, and usually I'll report on those. Um, stuff like that. But that is just what I call like my new norm, right? And one of my new norms, which I kind of experienced this week, which again didn't really like say like, oh, I need to put this in a video because it happens all the time. But then it kind of reminded me of the concept of tricksters. So to say all that, let me rewind back to kind of like I would say 6 months, 6 months, I guess, before my influx of paranormal activity. Okay. So during this time I was um working at a job, and I was kind of like starting out like trying to like really focus on my career, right? So that was kind of like my main, I don't want to say identity, but that was like kind of like my main thought process, right? Trying to like focus on my career and work on that. And so I started a new position and I was working really hard in that position. But kind of towards the end, before I got a new job, things started to get like really frustrating at work, and not only just like with the coworkers and just in general and the task, but also like I would start noticing things in my documents that would change. So I'd work on a document, right? And I'd complete the document. I would know the document was done. I would save the document. I kind of have, you know, where, a lot of people do, where they're like, oh, I must have left my hair straightener on. So let me make sure it's unplugged. Like I would save it and then I would check that it was saved type of vibe when I finished my work, right? Because I didn't want to redo it. And so that was kind of like how I worked, right? Like I would click on it and I would always hit the save button. And then even when I saved it, I would check to make sure it was saved, right? Um, so, but during that time, and again, I was also stressed for other things, especially work related. Every time I would come back, something would be different with my work. So I would come in and either the changes I made weren't there, even though I know I saved them, or they would be different, or it would be something where I'd have to like fix something, right? And it was super frustrating. And I would even remember sending voice memos to my friends, like talking to them about it and be like, I don't understand why my work is like I got to the point where I thought my coworkers were legitimately messing with my stuff and like trying to be competitive or what. Like that's how paranoid I got, right? Because it was like every time I went into the drive to go look at my stuff, something was changed or my work didn't get saved, but not enough to like get me fired and not enough to like get me like in trouble or not enough. It was something that I could like update real quick and fix, but it was just getting like a little too much, I guess is the right word. And it would get to be like frustrating, I guess. So those are like the type of things that I feel like the spirit world does just start getting your attention and start getting you like questioning things, right? Or it doesn't even have to be like the universe as a whole, but just like maybe a specific spirit, right? And so there would be other times where like my electronics, I know I touched on this on another video, which I'll link down below as well. But there were times where like I'd be trying to, and this still happens to this day, and I'm just so used to it that I'm like, okay, that I'll be watching a TV show and then my TV will glitch over to another app. Like I'll be watching Netflix and it'll switch over to Hulu somehow, and there'll be a show advertised that like I just feeling like I should watch that and then when I watch it, it usually like relates to my life, either personally or spiritually. And I'm just used to that. But that kind of started happening around that time too, right? Another example of this would be I mentioned this in my last journal update, would be there was one time when I started getting really, I guess, in tuned with um the paranormal. And how I was talking about when you talk back to the universe, the more they talk back to you, right? And I made an example of lighting a candle. Well, that really happened to me just in a different way. There was something that I knew the universe wanted me to do, but I didn't want to do it. So I kind of feel like I have, like, kind of a trickster personality a little bit, like, I'm kind of, like, playful in that sense. I think maybe that's sometimes why the spirits maybe sometimes gravitate toward me, because 'cause I'll play around with them, right? Um, when it's safe. Um, mark on safe. But, and so, like, they wanted me to do something, I didn't wanna do it, and I kept trying to light a candle, and the every time I tried to light it with the match, it wouldn't light, and then finally, I was like, "Fine," and I did it, and then it was funny because it, like, begrudgingly lit. It was like because I begrudgingly did what they did, I, like, half-assed it, and they, like, half-assed lit my candle. That's the kind of trickster stuff I'm talking about, right? So, like, annoying things where you're like, "Why isn't this working?" And why, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that is, like, the way of the universe playing meaningless, fun tricks, but also trying to get your attention, right? Kinda trying to motivate you, but in a fun and fun and fun and, just trying to get your attention, but not in a scary way. Now, they also did mess during this time, actually a little later, like, if maybe if I don't know, a little later on, they really started messing with my electronics, where during this time, I got so much paranormal activity, but I wasn't sure what it was yet, that I got really paranoid. So I got a system that I forget the word for is, hang on. I got a security system, right? And I never had one before, and it just got to the point where, and if you look at my previous videos, you'll understand why. But I wanna keep this video lighthearted, so I'm trying to get past this quickly. But I got a security, video, and they would start if they don't want you to go somewhere or something like that, the universe will let you know, right? And at this point, I was trying to take a trip with a friend, and it made me so paranoid that I ended up not taking the trip. Let me just put it that way. And but what they would do, it would start, like, moving my camera, or my cameras would move, and, like, I would be downstairs, like, I had, like, a little, apartment, and I'd be downstairs, and then, I would p face the camera away, and then it wouldn't be, like, any way for it to move, and I'd come up, and then it would just move on itself, like, those type of things. And again, with nowadays, if that kinda happened, I would be like, "Peh," and maybe put it in a journal entry, but I'm so used to it. But back then, it was terrifying because I didn't really understand the whole concept yet, and I didn't understand everything, right? And like I said, I feel like I got a crash course in the paranormal and supernatural world in a very short amount of time. So it was a lot going on, right? So I guess that kinda goes back to my concept of my previous deep dive that I did on the Max Headroom video, of talking about, like, not understanding something and being scared of it or uncomfortable with it just because you don't understand it, right? Or being scared of it, right? And it could just simply being a trickster being like, "Hey, I want your attention," and so forth, right? It's just something that their reality is different than your reality, right? What's scary to you probably makes them laugh, saying, "Oh, they're so scared because I moved their electronics, hee, 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 hee," type thing, right? Me and my boyfriend always laugh because we always think, like, if we were, like, in that type of realm, we'd be tricksters, right? We just, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like tricksters are like the trolls of the internet, of the universe, right? They like to troll, they like to bug you, they'll motivate you, right? And that's where you have to, where I talked about in my last haunted journal update, is that you really have to be like, enough is enough, because sometimes, even if they have really good intentions, I think most tricksters probably don't know when enough is enough, and so that's when you have to have your boundaries, right? And just don't respond to them anymore, because then they're like, "Well, this is no fun. She's not playing with me anymore." And kind of like a little kid, like, "All right, move along. Like, I gotta do my human work, right? Because I got bills to pay." You know what I mean? And finding that balance, you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of tricksters kind of have a kid personality, but also are probably very smart and very powerful in the universe world, right? And so you have to respect them, but then also have that balance where they need to respect you as well, right? And the best way to do that is kind of ignoring them. And just saying, "Hey, I got to work right now," and respectfully, you know? Now, this is kind of veering off of the trickster concept, but it's something I wanted to kind of just put out in the universe in general, or on the interwebs at least, that like tr for me, the tricksters really got me going hardcore fast into the paranormal world, probably faster than I should have, because I like fun stuff like that. I like, I mentioned if you're drawn to the universe stuff, you probably kinda have that inkling of liking adventure, you like figuring things out, you like, you know what I mean? You have that deep inside of you, whether your friends realize it or not, or your family realizes or not, you like exploring different things, right? And so when I started kind of, you know, going around playing with the universe, right? Then it it went too fast. It was almost like we were both playing with each other and it was just like, "Whoa," you know what I mean? And like I said, now I think we have a good rhythm going with the universe, but I also wanna put this as a very cautionary tale because the universe will attract you in a way that is suitable for you. So if you're not into those type of things, which not everyone is, they'll find another way, like making you go on shopping sprees, that feeling like you're invincible with shopping sprees, or if you like to shop, or they'll give you something, right? They'll give you something that's fun. They'll give you something that's because the universe knows you more than anyone else in this world, right? That gets you excited, that gets you amped up and be like, "Oh my gosh, there's more to this universe than just paying bills and dying," right? But keep in mind that when the universe gives, they do expect something back, right? So I think, again, finding that balance is very important for both sides, right? Because I think the universe gets just as excited if someone like wakes up to the universe, oh, someone that's here to help us, because trust me, from my experience, you're not just there to play from the universe. You're not just there to take from the universe. They expect something back in return to help them with whatever their end goal is, right? And I have my speculations on that, but that's for another video. But just keep that in mind if you want to kind of join that spiritual realm and you're having fun with it. Maybe you're on a high with your spiritual journey. That's great, right? And everyone deserves, you know, to the universe knows what you need and what makes you happy, right? And then universe will provide that for you, but best believe they're going to expect something back from you. So I'm going to leave it. I had more to talk about, but I try and leave these kind of shorter. So I'm going to leave that for that. And I'll probably delve into that concept more later. But yeah, I just kind of had a few trickster pranks pulled on me this week. Nothing crazy. Like I said, a couple like computer things where I'm like, no, I know I updated that thing, and then it was like, "No, you didn't," like, type thing, and, like, small things like that. Nothing big, but it just kinda reminded me of how sometimes tricksters are around. The bad tricksters that aren't trying to, like, help you be on the good side of things, and, for the greater good, there's also the greater bad. Those are the ones that, again, you don't wanna be tricked in a horrible way, and that will be for another video, but, you know, basically, I always say that in my videos where if you don't know, don't play. Let me put it that way. Okay. So I think that's going to be all for now. If you like these videos, please subscribe um, and hit the notification bell and leave a comment. Like I said, I will link my videos mentioned down below. And until next time, stay curious and stay tuned into the paranormal. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.